Alan Matheson Turing was born in London, England on June 23, 1912. His interests and gifts for science and math were recognized early on in his studies at Sherborne boarding school. During his years here, he earned countless prizes for achievements in mathematics and science, including the Kirby Mathematics Prize, the Lyon Prize for Examination, and the Digby Prize for Mathematics and Science. Although he excelled in the STEM field, Alan did very poorly in liberal arts subjects such as reading and writing, as he was much more interested in advanced mathematics. His headmaster realized this and wrote a letter to Turing's parents expressing his concern. "I hope he will not fall between two stools. If he is to stay at public school, he must aim at becoming educated. If he is to be solely a scientific specialist, he is wasting his time at a public school." Despite this, Alan Turing continued his studies at Sherborne all the way until 1931, when he entered King's College in Cambridge majoring in math, from which he received a first-class honors in mathematics. After graduating from King's College, Turing attended an advanced course about the foundations of math taught by mathematician Max Newman. In this course, Alan Turing was introduced to Hilbert's Entscheidungs problem, or a question on decidability. To put it simply, the question asked if there was an algorithm that could decide if any mathematical proposition is true or false. This question was particularly intriguing to Turing, so on May 28, 1936, he submitted a paper to the London Mathematical Society titled On Computable Numbers with an application to the Entscheidungs problem. This article, as you can see, is very long and complicated, filled with lots of symbols that are hard to understand. So here's my attempt at consolidating 2 to 3 hours of painful reading into a short explanation of what this article was about. Alan Turing hypothesizes a theoretical machine made with 3 main parts: a tape with symbols on it, a reader that can perform tasks, and a program or set of instructions that the reader conforms to. According to Turing, the possible behavior of the machine at any moment is determined by the M configuration Q sub n and the scan symbol S of r. By this, he means that in order to know what to do, the machine needs to know the position of the tape and the symbol in that position. Here is an animated example of the previous statement. As you can see, the reader knows that it is in M configuration 14, and it sees a 1 in that square. The reader looks at its program and sees that the task to execute given this M configuration and symbol is to change the 1 to a 0 and move to the next square, which is then executed. You may realize that the model of a Turing machine is very reminiscent of a modern-day computer. This is no coincidence. The tape on which the binary numbers are given represents the memory of the Turing machine, with the reader running on a designated program in its specific language. These ideas of a Turing machine are what laid the foundation for all computer science and computational thinking. Therefore, it is reasonable to say that Alan Turing's hypothesis of a Turing machine provided a blueprint for the development of advanced computers such as laptops and mobile devices. After Turing published his paper, he went to Princeton University for his graduate studies, where he obtained his PhD in 1938. Around this time, World War II had started, and in 1939, Alan Turing was asked to join the Government Codes and Ciphers School in Bletchley Park in England, tasked with breaking the uncrackable German Enigma code, along with a few associates. To understand what Turing did, we need to first understand what Enigma was and how an Enigma machine works. Before the war started, Enigma was a message scrambling device used by banks to send encrypted financial information to people. It consisted of a keyboard, 26 bulbs with letters in them, and 3 rotors for scrambling. When a person pushed a key down on the keyboard, the electrical signal would be carried over to the rightmost rotor. That rotor would then swap the electrical signal with a different signal corresponding to a different letter. This would happen 2 more times after going down the next 2 rotors, and the final signal would be carried to one of the bulbs, showing the letter output. In addition to this, each time a key was pressed, the rotors would move, changing the scrambling for each letter input. When the war came along, the German Navy added a feature, a plug board. This plug board consisted of 26 sockets for each of the 26 letters in the alphabet, and 10 wires connecting 10 pairs of 2 sockets together. With this setup, if one of the wires linked P with O, it would change a P to an O and vice versa. When a person pressed a key, the signal would instead go through the plug board first, changing it once. Then the signal would go through the rotors from the right, changing the signal 3 more times. The signal would then loop back through the rotors in the opposite direction, changing it 3 more times. That signal would then travel through the plug board again, and finally the signal would light up a bulb showing the letter output. Given that each Enigma machine had 3 randomly selected rotors from a selection of 5, and a plug board with 10 wires connecting 20 letters into pairs, the number of total ways to change the setting of the machine sums up to roughly 159 quintillion, or 159 million. These settings would be changed daily, meaning that Turing and his colleagues only had until midnight of each day to decipher the messages. Although the Enigma code was very complex, it had flaws. The first was that a letter cannot be encrypted as itself, so a P never became a P. Also, some messages would have repeating phrases day after day at its beginning or end. So, Turing designed a machine, called the bomb, to exploit these flaws and decode Enigma. Here's an example of both flaws. Each day there would be a German weather report with the word Wetterbericht, or weather report in German. Say he believed that the W in Wetterbericht would correspond with T. With this assumption, you would be able to deduce other guesses of pairs on the plug board through reasoning. If everything came out as expected with no repetitions in plug board combinations, then you would stop and the settings would be recorded as a possibility. If, for example, the machine assumed W correlated with T on the plug board but then deduced another setting where W connected with R, then there would be a contradiction. Turing found out that the good thing with this, though, is that all the other intermediate deductions would have to be wrong, which would eliminate a lot of possible combinations at once. The only difference is that the bomb could shuffle through each deduction in seconds, compared to the minutes or hours it would take for humans to do it normally. According to BBC News, Turing's work helped shorten the war by 2 to 4 years. In addition to this, through the development, installment, and improvement upon the bomb machine, Turing manifested the power of using computing technology as a tool for crunching large numbers and data that would be otherwise impossible for humans to do. After the war, Alan Turing returned to Cambridge. In 1948, Turing was appointed as reader at the University of Manchester. He also joined Max Newman's computing laboratory at Manchester University, where he wrote programs for the Manchester Automatic Digital Machine, the computer with the largest capacity at the time. Then, in 1950, Alan Turing published another influential article titled Computing Machinery and Intelligence. In this article, he explores the idea of what we now call artificial intelligence, and investigates whether a machine can be intelligent enough to emulate human behaviors. Turing proposes the imitation game, a test that goes like this. There are 3 players in 3 different rooms, a human player, a machine player, and a human interrogator. The human interrogator's job is to try and determine which is the human and which is the machine by asking them questions through a terminal. These can be as subjective as, what is your favorite color? Or as objective as multiply 34,567 by 34. The human interrogator would look for certain human nuances that are missing in the computer's response, such as stumbling over doing arithmetic. If a machine were able to pass the imitation game, then the machine would be deemed as intelligent as a human. This game is now known as the Turing test, and is the fundamental test behind deducing whether a computer has the potential to emulate human intelligence. However, with the expansion of technology and AI, the Turing test itself has become less useful. Some variations of the test include the Marcus test, which determines a computer's ability to understand TV shows, the Lovelace test 2.0, which tests a computer's ability to make art, or the reverse Turing test, in which a computer tries to guess if a subject is a human or a computer. Researchers today find it more useful to make conversations between humans and machines more coherent. A huge breakthrough in doing so happened in 2018 when Google Duplex, the AI technology between Google Assistant, was able to make a call to a hairdresser without the receiver realizing that the caller was a machine.
So how can I help you?
Hi, I'm calling to book a women's haircut for a client. I'm looking for something on May 3rd.
Sure, give me 1 second. Sure, what time are you looking for around?
At 12 p.m.
Although this test is not in the exact format of a Turing test, Google Duplex is considered by many to have passed the Turing test. Alan Turing's imitation game certainly sparked interest in many scientists to create artificially intelligent machines to help people in their daily lives. His article on computing intelligence introduced the idea of how a computer completes tasks, and his ideas have many similarities with computers today. Through his theorization of computers and proof that such machines are possible, Alan Turing accelerated the development of modern-day computing. Unfortunately, Turing lived a short life, passing away at the age of 41. Nevertheless, his dedication to computation and his brilliance created a new frontier of modernization that improved the quality of people's lives.